Good afternoon. The meeting will now come to order. Hello, I am Marcia Herbert, President of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome you to the July 10th, 2024 Board meeting. In keeping with the Board's commitment to open communication with the community, this meeting is being streamed live on the CCPS website at www.carrollk12.org and broadcast live on Channel 21. We are also recording this meeting so that it can be accessed on demand on our website and broadcast throughout the month of Channel 21. Public participation will be held at approximately 5:15 p.m. Speakers will be directed into the boardroom from the building lobby and are allotted 3 minutes to address the board. As a reminder, please silence all cell phones and other devices. Board members, please turn off your microphones when you are not speaking. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I need a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Dorsey,
I'll
seconded
second.
by Ms. Battaglia. Comments, corrections? I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the minutes of the unapproved board meeting minutes of June 12th, 2024. By Mr. Whistler, seconded by
I'll second.
Ms. Battaglia. Any comments, questions?
Ms. Herbert, I'm
Yes.
just going to say that I will abstain from voting on the minutes since I was
Right.
unable to attend
Right.
the meeting last
Okay,
week.
thank you. Seeing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. At this time, Dr. McCabe.
At this time, we have the pleasure of recognizing the dedicated employees of our school system who have retired during this last year. Board members, please come down to the front to greet our retirees and present them with a small token of our appreciation.
No, you're fine.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ernesto Diaz. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the school system, and it's a proud opportunity to see all of you and to see all of the retirees and get their awards. It is always an honor to recognize all of our retirees for their hard work and dedication throughout their careers with Carroll County Public Schools. This year, we are marking the retirement of 102 employees who have given a combined total of 2,496 years of service to our schools. To those who are here with us this evening and those who were unable to attend, we are indebted to you for the incredible work you have done over the past many years. You can take great pride in knowing that you have touched countless lives and had a tremendous impact on our students and our community. We are grateful to you for the service and commitment you brought to Carroll County Public Schools each and every day, and you will truly be missed. Please know how much you are appreciated. Retirees, as I read your name, please come forward and receive your plaque and then shake hands. Our first retiree, Ivy Allgaier, Advanced Academics Teacher, Friendship Valley Elementary School, Westminster Elementary School. Our next retiree, Tracy Belsky, Principal, Elmer Wolf Elementary School.
has horses, so.
Our next retiree, Denise Bitzer, cosmetology teacher, Carroll County Career and Technology Center. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. Ms. Bitzer cannot join us this evening. We'll call our next one. Ms. Mary Brawning, kindergarten, Winfield Elementary School.
Her daughter rode in my barn. She graduated Carroll County Schools and now she's
Our next retiree, congratulations to Lori Douglas, instrumental and general music teacher, Winfield Elementary School. Our next retiree, Mr. Timothy Durkin, physics teacher, Liberty High School.
He did not ride in my barn.
Our next retiree, Darlene Goyette, mathematics teacher, Manchester Valley High School.
You didn't ride my barn. I taught with her.
Our next retiree, Michelle Hawkins, shift foreman, Manchester Valley High School.
She didn't ride my barn, but I saw her all the evenings I went to basketball and all the other evening activities in Manchester. She does a great job.
And our next retiree, Sharon Hiles, general science teacher, Sykesville Middle School. Congratulations to Kimberly Robeson, special education resource teacher, Tawnytown Elementary School. Our next retiree, Christina Snively, school counselor, Piney Ridge Elementary School. And last but not least, Robin Szymanski, special education teacher, LFI, Carroll Springs School. Thank you. Congratulations. If there are retirees who we've not called, please raise your hand. We can. Is that Denise? Okay. Bear with me for a second. Yep. So now, last but not least, Denise Bitzer, cosmetology teacher, Carroll County Career and Technology Center.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Go that way. Go that way.
Enjoy your retirement. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Any others in the audience? Well, with that, thank you to all and best wishes for a happy, healthy, and rewarding retirement. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for your time.
Following guidelines apply. Speakers with a connection to CCPS will be allowed to address the board for the allotted 3 minutes. Only those speakers that have registered online and have been notified by the Communications Department will be permitted to speak. Priority will be given to those citizens that are addressing the board about an item on the current agenda. Citizens not appearing in person for public comment can write to the board through email or U.S. mail. Public participation is not limited to be a question and answer session. However, if citizens have specific questions, the superintendent will assign a staff member to make contact during the board meeting to arrange a time to respond to questions. The superintendent and the board reserve the right to correct misinformation presented as factual after the conclusion of the public participation period. Statements to the board should relate to a recent agenda item, an agenda item that is expected to appear in the future, or a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Personnel matters, pending appeals, the actions or statements of individual staff, or items related to employee negotiations are not appropriate topics and may not be discussed. The board has scheduled time on the agenda for public participation at approximately 5:15 p.m. The board reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on a particular topic so that all topics may be addressed. Additionally, the board retains the discretion to allow additional speakers as it deemed appropriate. The board is allowing no more than an hour for public participation. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less. All comments should be directed to the board members at the dais. Citizens may only address the board with their individual comments. Citizens may not stand in for another person or group and read their comments. When the allotted time expires, the speaker is permitted to complete a sentence. Citizens may leave any handouts for board members on the table at the back of the boardroom. Please do not approach the dais. Additionally, the public may not display signs or posters during the board meeting. In lieu of signs, or if you are unable to complete your comments in the allotted time, individuals are encouraged to submit remarks to the board in writing. Those seated in the audience are asked to be respectful of the speaker and refrain from commenting to the speaker or the board members. Our first speaker, Kit Hart.
Okay, good evening. I'm here today to ask the board to take a stance regarding the changes that the U.S. Department of Education is purporting to make to Title IX. As you know, Title IX was the crowning achievement in the women's liberation movement. Since that legislation passed 50 years ago, there's been an increase in girls' athletic sports in high schools by 1,000%, and that achievement really cannot be underestimated. But suddenly, the Department of Education is attempting to turn the clock back by unilaterally issuing new regulations that were not enacted by Congress and that make dramatic changes to Title IX. The new regulations redefine the word sex to include gender identity, allowing male students to access female bathrooms and locker rooms. All individuals, of course, should be treated with dignity and respect, but that is not that's not to say that the safety and dignity of girls should be pushed aside for that. In the context of girls' sports, I speak from experience as a former athlete myself. I have two girls and 3 boys, and I tell you from experience that I witness every day that the level of aggression and intensity in sport is just vastly different between the two sexes. But beyond obvious anecdotal evidence, there is a massive amount of scientific proof that show that boys have larger lung capacity, larger hearts, denser bones, and greater muscle mass, allowing them to jump higher, throw harder, run faster, and accelerate quicker than girls. This is very obvious. No child can change their sex, no matter how many puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones they wish to take. To claim that a boy can become a girl simply by taking estrogen or wearing a dress just reduces a girl to a collection of hormones. Honestly, it is the definition of misogyny. Girls are so much more than their estrogen level and will still remain beautiful girls no matter what hobbies they wear or what they choose to, which hobbies they enjoy or what they choose to wear. There's one last implication of these rules which I wish to address, and that is that of the freedom of speech. If these rules are enacted, the free speech and religious views of teachers may be breached by requiring them to use inaccurate preferred pronouns of gender-confused kids. Just imagine a real-life scenario when a teacher, when a child is demanding the use of demanding language that is not accurate and is honestly just grammatically inaccurate, and then threatens a lawsuit. You will lose great teachers from this county. So I urge you as a board to speak out at the state level against these proclaimed changes to Title IX that are inherently in violation of the original legislation. You are elected as leaders, and you need to take a stand against detrimental and dangerous policies. So what I'm asking is simple. Just don't allow boys in girls' sports. Don't allow boys in girls' locker rooms and bathrooms, and don't penalize a teacher if they choose, if they
Please
use the
finish your
correct pronouns.
thought.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Parisi. Parisi. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matthew Parisi, and this is my brother Luke. Today I'm defending the books, the family book and the big book of families. As a 12-year-old boy with 2 moms, I live my life like any other boy my age. Sports, video games, and swimming are the norms for the day. All my friends know I have 2 moms, and they don't care at all. I'm just your everyday average tween boy. When I heard about these books not being allowed, it disturbed me. Why are these books not allowed? I wondered. I see nothing wrong with them. They're just kids' books about families. When my moms told me the reason for this, it hurt to hear why. I was very confused and said, "It's just saying that some families have 2 moms or 2 dads." I thought this was unfair to our family and others, so I hastily asked to join my mother when I heard that she was speaking in last month's meeting. When I heard the verdict would happen after this month's meeting, I decided to voice some of my opinions. I came here today to help prove the point the community has been trying to prove for 2 meetings now. This is just a harmless kids book that lists types of families. 2 moms, 2 dads, families that look like their pets, army families, and more. That's just the world we live in. Some families have 2 moms or 2 dads. There's nothing wrong with that. Kids won't think anything about this book other than the silliness and fun colors. Not allowing this book belittles families like mine, but the truth is that my family and others with 2 moms or 2 dads deserve to be noticed just as much as any other. Please allow these books to show the community that families like mine matter just as much as families like yours. Thank you for your time.
Matthew, real quick, thank you for speaking because I know it takes a lot of guts for a kid your age to get up and talk. Next speaker is Jamie Hanlon. Again, if I mispronounce your name, please correct me.
I've heard "hey you" before, that's fine. So, good evening, board. My name is Jamie Hanlon McPhillips. My son is Ryan, and he is 8, and he has autism. He was in special education with Carroll County Public Schools through pre-K4, but with the services offered, or actually the services not offered for kindergarten, forced us to move him into a private school where we provided ABA therapists to support him in the classroom. ABA is applied behavior analysis. This therapy takes data constantly throughout the school day, documenting behaviors. Based upon this data, they find trends of what impacts the student's ability to learn and what causes, prevents, and calms behaviors. This is a win for the teachers, the student, and the students in the class, since these behaviors can be prevented, calmed quicker, and the students can be removed from a class, and the rest of the class can continue to learn without interruption. When we began kindergarten with this model, he was almost nonverbal. He is now reading at peer level. He loves to learn, but still needs this kind of support to be successful. Now I either need to quit my career to homeschool so he can receive this kind of support, or place him in public school where he will not get this kind of support. So I'm asking, what in CCPS regulations is preventing him from bringing his support with him into the public school? Washington County of Maryland allows parents to provide outside support for their children. To be clear, I am talking about certified therapists that are 100% provided by the parents, usually through their medical insurance. Ryan, for example, is a 1.5 on the 3.0 ASD spectrum. He is caught in that proverbial crack that kids slip through. He is too functional to be placed in or benefit from the autism programs offered, but not functional enough to succeed without the correct support. He has the ability to succeed in Gen Ed and become an independent student and an independent adult if he has the correct support. This means both the right kind. ABA, for example, is not offered through the public school system, and the correct amount. Not every child is a cookie, which benefits from the cookie cutter approaches. He is not alone. I've spoken with several other special needs parents whose children also need additional support than the school system can provide, yet they can provide it for them in that setting. However, when I ask anyone within the CCPS school system why students could not bring their own specialized support, no one knows exactly why they cannot. I've spoken with Dr. Farver, I've spoken with the head of special education, the special education liaison, and over a dozen other people, and nobody knows. This is why I'm here. Is there an actual reason or regulation? And if there is such a clause, I am asking you to please reconsider and change the policy to allow students to bring outside support into school. It would benefit so many students to have access to the correct support for them. This would also free up resources so more students can get the support that they need. There are easy ways to address insurance and administrative hurdles through the agreements like we in Washington County use to address things like background checks, interaction with school staff, how they fold into the coordination IT process. If students can bring in support that exactly fits their needs, why shouldn't they? It will ease the burden on an already strained special education system, opening up more resources for more students. It also ensures that the student is receiving what he or she needs to succeed. Thank you.
Ms. Hanlon, I'm going to ask Ms. Whittle, our Director of Special Education, to meet you right out in the lobby here.
Sure. Great. Thank
to
you.
discuss your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gary Foote.
I have never heard anyone on the board explain why they are against voting rights for students, so I will have to guess. You might think students are not mature enough to understand the issues of the day. Perhaps it is because most students don't pay taxes. Is it because you think students will be too easily swayed by the promise of better lunches or a reduced set of requirements for graduation? Or do you think students will simply repeat what they hear their parents saying? Or perhaps you think they are too young or too small to operate voting machines. You should know that none of these excuses hold up in court for any other class of voters. Any court would instruct boards of elections to make reasonable accommodations for voters with disabilities. Poll taxes, literacy tests, IQ tests, requirements to own property, all of these are unconstitutional. Dementia patients can be assisted by family members if they need help voting. But if you are under 18, forget about it. One only need watch last month's meeting to recognize why student voting matters so much. You dismissed student cell phone survey data because it was what you expected. When the student member spoke up, she was ignored. Now, please understand, personally, my opinions concerning student cell phones in school are exactly the opposite of what the students are demanding. But if we really want a workable policy, we will need student buy-in. The board seems to be saying, that student voice doesn't matter because students don't vote. Go ahead and state vehemently that you value student input, but your actions are so loud, no one can hear what you say. We can't have a democracy if the citizens don't want one, and we are on our way to producing the most politically apathetic generation in our history. Yes, democracy is the worst possible form of government, except for everything else that's ever been tried. Our students see the messiness and the dirty laundry. They need to see that all of this is necessary and even good. We can either help our students experience a new birth of freedom, or we will go down in history as the generation that failed to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and couldn't be bothered to pass it along to our posterity.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Wendy Novak.
I was adopted at birth. When my biological mother filled out the paperwork, she lied about her family member's race because for so much of her life, interracial marriage was illegal, and there was still a stigma against it even after it was legal. Her family had to hide who they were because it went against others' beliefs. Adoptions were kept secret back then to avoid the stigma because of other people's beliefs against illegitimate children. Mrs. Herbert's comment about how happy she was when her granddaughters colored her grandfather brown resonated with me. It is important to be seen. As happy as adults are to be seen, imagine how happy a child would be to be represented in a book. These books are accurate reflections of families here. Whether they go against someone's beliefs is irrelevant. These families exist regardless of someone's anti-LGBTQ beliefs. I know that someone claimed that this book wants to put all family situations on the same playing field, where outcomes will not be the same for the children, but that is not a fact. That's a lie. There is no evidence that heterosexual families have better outcomes than homosexual families. Telling someone that no one thinks heterosexual relationships are superior only to refer to same-sex families is controversial or something that children must be protected from learning about, or calling families alternate is demonstrating a belief that heterosexual relationships are superior. This is shaming families. Shame is defined by Webster's Dictionary as the act or activity of subjecting someone to shame, disgrace, humiliation, or disrepute, especially by public exposure or criticism. As Ms. Battaglia says, it is important for children to know there is no shame in the family makeup. Dr. Dorsey pointed out it's about representation. Everyone needs to be seen. Over 70% of the parents chose their children to receive this curriculum. The option to opt out is allowed without taking away the right for over 70% of the parents that want an honest and accurate education. I've known the Parisi family for years. I've seen their boys grow. They are hilarious boys. I love hearing stories about their perspectives on things. They volunteer at church and in the community, and they are well respected and loved. Why would learning about families like theirs existing destroy a child's innocence? Gaslighting is defined by Webster's Dictionary as psychological manipulation to make someone question the validity of their own thoughts. Telling someone they are being emotional after they calmly presented facts is gaslighting. Getting offended because someone held you accountable for their words is gaslighting. Saying you don't believe heterosexual families are superior, but then go on to attack them is gaslighting. I will leave you with this. What religious values will be allowed to dictate policy? Views on divorce, women in leadership or teaching roles? Some Christians believe the commandment to love your neighbor. This would be a good one to implement, because if you love your neighbor, you wouldn't exclude them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maureen Aversa.
Good evening. I'm here to finish this speech I gave last month because I ran out of time, and I feel like after Matthew, I probably don't have much to say compared to that. It was really wonderful. But I am here to speak about the Family Life Committee's recommendation to remove the Family Life book and the Great Big Book of Families as supplemental resources in the classroom because they are not age appropriate. I'd like to share that I have a degree in early childhood education. I've spent almost my entire career working with preschool children. Can anyone on the dais tonight say the same thing, besides Dr. Dorsey, of course? You are making decisions that are clearly not in your wheelhouse. The books at hand are completely appropriate for this age group. Those with a background in early childhood development know this. I might suggest that you stay in your lane and leave curriculum decisions to the experts and not a stacked committee handpicked by you. Let's stop feeding into the made-up crises. These books represent actual families that make up our community. Lots of families look different than the traditional mom and dad structure. And despite the FLAC committee's unfounded determination that that structure provides the best outcomes for children, it's not true. Families come in many shapes, different shapes and sizes. Our community families are no different than those of you sitting up there tonight. Step families, single families, parents that live in different homes. These books are about healthy, loving families. They aren't pornographic or sexual. They don't groom. They don't depict parents that swing or abuse their children or anything else that would be harmful to students. Let's not waste any more time on decisions that hurt our kids. We've seen this circus before, hours spent on flags, book challenges, and now who knows how long this one's going to take. We need to deal with some real issues, and I have one that we can talk about. Do you know the number of teachers, staff, and administration that have been injured this year due to the actions of students? Through a PIA, I obtained the data. From year to date, July through April, 764 staff members at Carroll County Public Schools have been injured, and that is just based on those that filed workman's comp. So it doesn't include the teacher who that got kicked and went to the nurse for an ice pack. I mean, did you know this number of staff were being hurt? Based on my math, and it's based on last year's numbers of staff, that's almost a quarter of your staff. And that doesn't consider those that didn't report. How about you work on providing a safe and supportive working environment for your most precious asset, teachers, staff, and all school employees? How about focusing on that instead of ways you can actively hurt students and families? Enough is enough.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gordon Craig.
On or about February 8th, 2024, the Family Life Advisory Committee voted not to recommend the family book and the Great Big Book of Families by a margin of 13-6-2 and 12-6-3, respectively. I agree with this vote not to recommend these books and would like to expand upon some of the comments that were left in there that I saw online. Excuse me. The comment section for both books noted that these books may violate parents' beliefs and or personal religious systems. In order to determine what a family is, we should probably look at the author of the family. Genesis tells us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and all things. It says that he created man on the sixth day. The Bible tells us that God created man in his own image, that in the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. God actually took the time to fashion man from the dust of the ground because he wanted his image on him. And then when God took Adam out into the field, he actually said, Adam, it's not good that you're alone. I'm going to make a helpmeet for you, a person fit specifically for you, a soulmate. And he made Eve. Excuse me. The Lord then gave us further instruction in the New Testament as he explains that the husband should love the wife as Christ loved the church. He actually tied creation to the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is not just a belief that some people have. This is the entirety of their lives. We're also instructed that children are to obey their parents and the Lord and to honor their father and mother. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ because it's the power of God unto salvation, and that's what needs to be declared. Secondly, there are comments on this that the Great Books of Families wants to put all family structures on the same playing field where outcomes will not be the same for children. That comment was a little bit confusing, But the first pillar that we see is the pillar that, in the link of strategic planning, is the pillar to improve student achievement. In the book Raising Cain, Protecting the Emotional Life of Boys, which was actually written, the Washington Post noted was brilliant and a required read for anyone raising or educating boys. This book notes that there's a huge relationship that needs to be made between a father and a son and a mother and a son. An emotional gulf separates most sons from their fathers, and it's uniquely damaging to a boy because of the central role a father figure plays into a boy's developing view of himself. But no matter how impossible a father may be, at the deepest level of his being, a boy wants to love his father and wants to be known and loved by him. This is a secular psychologist, someone who doesn't believe what I believe. Also noted is, a boy never loses his need to be understood and loved by his mother. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Daphne Levitz. If I mispronounce their name, please correct me.
It's Levitus, but I answer to any version of it. Thanks. Hi, members of the Board of Education. Marcia, we've met a couple times at your horse show. Thank you for providing me with an opportunity to speak with you tonight. As I was just introduced, my name is Daphne Levitus. I'm a lifelong Maryland resident, and I'm new to Carroll County. My family moved to Carroll County in November of 2023. We moved for better public schools, for a cleaner environment for our children, and the opportunity to enjoy property in a more rural area. I value the freedoms that our democracy provides and the institutions that support the informed citizenry upon which our democracy depends. Our public schools are clearly one of these institutions, as are our libraries. Both of these institutions serve to help educate our citizens and to foster intellectual curiosity and to encourage civic engagement. I'm deeply troubled to learn that the group Moms for Liberty is working to ban books from the classrooms. I'm similarly deeply troubled that the Family Life Committee has recommended that 2 wonderful children's books be removed from classroom shelves. I strongly support keeping the family book and the Big Book of Families on the shelves. These books represent families as they are, in their many shapes, their sizes, their compositions. Representation of our diverse community is critical for students of all levels of education. Additionally, inclusion and acceptance of all children and their families is critical to emotional and social wellness, which directly impacts academic success. I have 2 children enrolled in Carroll County Public Schools, and I want them to have access to books that make them read, question, and think. My family strives to raise children who will synthesize, analyze, and challenge the status quo. And preparing them to do so requires that they have full access to books from a variety of perspectives, written by authors with varied life experiences. Thank you for ensuring that these books remain available.
Thank you. That is all of our public comment.
Thank you very much. And now we will move on to employee groups.
Good evening, Dr. McCabe and members of the Board of Education. I'm Cindy Porter, President of CASE, representing clericals, assistants, and LPNs working in Carroll County Public Schools. While the summer months afford many of us an opportunity to catch our breath in a sense, CASE 12-month clericals are still hard at work. Many of our 10-month bargaining unit members are working in extended school year programs or in other school-based programs. Others are taking advantage of offered professional learning, and many are picking up extra hours at their second jobs. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future has demanded a lot of time and attention this past year, as it will in the next several years. As many of you are aware, education support professionals were virtually left out of this sweeping legislation. This past school year was unbelievably challenging for the education support professionals in our school system, especially due to the increase in student behaviors. I'm grateful to have had an opportunity to learn of and listen to many of their stories because of my position as CASE president. And the constant refrain that I always heard was, people don't have a clue what I do every day. Since becoming CASE president 2 years ago, I have utilized my voice to share some of those stories. I have also routinely spoken about how our bargaining unit members form relationships with students and how crucial those relationships are to helping all students across our county achieve the best possible outcomes. As we look towards the next school year, I invite you and the members of our communities to take the time to get to know some of our education support professionals. Find out what their positions truly entail, the challenges they face, and why they stay in those positions in spite of the extraordinary challenges they face each and every day. Those stories are not only lifelines, but valuable and necessary components to including all stakeholders in conversations and discussions on how to best move our school system forward for the students we serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent McCabe, board members. I am Celeste Jordan, president of CCA. I am one of 7 children. In my hometown, my family was the largest non-farming family. All my life, when people ask me about my family and I say that I'm number 7 of 7, comments are made that make it seem like my family is not normal. At Community Advisory Council, there's a member who's a mom of 6 kids, and when she introduces herself, comments are made or people laugh, again because big families aren't seen as normal. But what is normal? Over the past almost 30 years of teaching, I've met many families. I met with a single mom whose job required me to sign a note for her saying she was at a parent conference so she would not lose pay. I met grandparents raising their grandchild after a non-custodial parent kidnapped the child for 8 years. I met a married couple who sat their child in the middle of them, then turned their chairs so that the other spouse was not in their line of sight. They were still married. They would not talk to each other, would not answer each other, and seemed oblivious to their child's emotional well-being. Is that normal just because the child has a mom and a dad? I've had meetings with 2 moms, 2 dads, grandparents, step-parents, and so many combinations of adults. My favorite conference ever was a family that booked 2 conference slots back-to-back, showed up with mom, dad, both step-parents, 1 grandparent, and several other children who were a combination of full siblings, half-siblings, and step-siblings. They introduced everyone, and they said how they wanted all of the children to understand that all of the adults in this room care for them and always will. Is that normal? I remember the first sophomore class ring ceremony I planned. A student asked for an extra seat beyond the usual 4. She explained that the 4 tickets went to her mom and current husband, her dad and stepmom, but that her stepdad from a previous marriage was the man she considered her dad, and she wanted him there. What do all these families have in common? They are a group of adults who care for a child. You will notice I did not mention anything about the sexual activity of the families I described because that's not appropriate. Just like a book for K to 2nd graders is not the place to describe sexual activity. The books in question tonight, the family book and the Great Big Book of Families, do not describe sexual activity. They simply show, through cartoon form, that families might not look like your family. No kid wants to think about their parents having sex. It doesn't matter who your parents are. This book does not say 2 moms are intimate. This book does not say that there are some kids who have a mom and a dad, but the marriage is an open marriage. It does not mention that the reason there's a stepdad is because dad cheated on mom. I was in kindergarten in 1975, and in 1975, this book would have been controversial in my hometown. The idea of a family that was not all the same color would have been a problem. I still remember my neighbor across the street throwing his daughter out of the house because she fell in love with a black man. Ruthie never returned until her father died 20 years later. That's how we knew he died. We saw Ruthie out front. In 2024, it should not be controversial to have a book available to children that says some families have a mom and a dad, some have 2 moms, some families are different colors, because I will guarantee you that at some point in K through 2nd grade, children will be asked to draw their families, and all of these families will be drawn. It should be a positive thing to have resources that reflect all of our students' families, and I hope you keep in mind all of our students when you vote on this agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to board member activities and correspondence. And first, we will have our new student representative, Ms. Kang.
All right. right. Hello, everybody. This month has been a planning month as like a general whole because, it's summer and we're all taking a vacation. So for CCSGA, because our president couldn't make it today, she's on vacation, we're just getting to know each other. We planned our summer meeting dates, and on those dates, we'll be planning our CCSGA Advance to get to know our SGA members across all the schools, from middle school to high school, and then future General Assembly planning, which is for all the high schools and middle schools. And then for MASC, which is the Maryland Student Government Association, we're also planning our advance in August, and the registration has been filled out, and your advisors should be having them. And then I'm also meeting with the other Maryland SMOBs next week for dinner in DC, so I'm really excited about that. So I'll get to hear some of their stories and what they're doing. And then I just wanted to shout out a couple of things. Ella Tedeschi is our elected Maryland Student Government Association Division II liaison. So she's going to play a very big role in connecting Carroll County to Maryland. And then we have students who won the America 250 contest who will be going on a trip across America. And then to all of our students who got their AP scores on Monday, I hope the scores went well, and I'm proud of whoever took those exams because this year was not a very easy year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Battaglia.
You forgot Miss Vigny.
All right,
Ms. Battaglia.
So I'll just say real quickly, so I apologize, I was not able to attend last month's meeting, had an emergency out of town at work, was not able to get back in time. So I didn't get to talk about graduations last month, which were absolutely fantastic, and especially since I had my own daughter graduated from Westminster High, and I got to hand her diploma on stage, which was really special for me. So I want to thank the other board members who were there and allowed me that amazing privilege. But I just wanted to say, albeit belated, just a congratulations to all of our amazing seniors that graduated last month, and to when you listen to their accomplishments at the graduation ceremonies, it is just outstanding and humbling at the same time. When you listen to the amazing things that all of our academics and scholar athletes and theatrical prowess, and it's truly amazing when you hear all the accolades of the students. So just want to say congratulations, best of luck to everyone in their future endeavors, whether it be trade school, college, going directly into the workforce, military, congratulations and best of luck in all of your future endeavors. So just wanted to say
Thank you. But I want to tell you, don't throw stones at me. Ms. Savigny asked not to say anything.
She said she wasn't going to say anything, and I was like,
no.
talk about
All right.
graduation.
Battaglia.
All right. I've attended various activities that were for various nonprofits throughout the county, and I like to support various nonprofits in any way, shape, or form that I can. On June 24th, I attended the Freedom Elementary Edition Planning Committee meeting. I just finished up my recent college class of Psychology of Stress, and that class was really informative. And if any teacher can possibly ever take that class, I highly suggest it. It does teach you a lot on what stress can do to your health, to your well-being, spiritually, and how to reduce stress in your life and how to manage the stress. So it was a great class and something I practice very much so with yoga and breathing techniques and mindfulness. My next two classes will begin in mid-August, which is Anthropology of Communication and U.S. History of Women, which I'm very excited for because that kind of goes along with my little self-feminism that I have. Some upcoming events, make sure you please come out to the Carroll County 4-H FFA Fair and support the students and their families. These children work so hard all year long with their projects, and it goes from livestock to artwork, from crafts to welding, and make sure you watch the traditional chicken parade, which is so much fun. I love seeing that every day. The fair does rely on volunteers, so if you're able to volunteer, please come out, please help, reach out to the extension office. The fair does initially start on July 27th and run till August 2nd. But on Friday, July 26th, they will have the first activity, which is a tractor pull in the arena. So come on out and have some fun and cheer on everybody that's participating. And, I hope everybody comes out for that. And I just want to give a shout out. This week is known as National Farrier Week. So those who have horses and those who have a farrier in their family, thank them for all their hard work. It is backbreaking what they do, and they go through a lot of training for that work. So, another great trade that we have in our midst here in the county, and I can't thank our farriers enough. So come out to the fair. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Dr. Dorsey.
Okay, thank you. On June 20th, I participated in the Sykesville Middle School Addition Planning Committee meeting. We reviewed the educational specifications that were used for the East Middle School replacement project, and then we had the opportunity to tour East Middle to get a firsthand look at administration and counseling offices, the health suite, related arts and special ed classrooms, modern middle school classrooms, workrooms, and resource spaces. On the 26th of June, I met with MABE's Resolutions Committee to review the resolutions that will be presented for the membership at this year's MABE conference. On June 27th, I participated in a conference program committee planning meeting. We continue refining plans for this year's conference. July 1st, I participated in another Sykesville Middle School Addition Planning Committee meeting, and this time we discussed the specifications for the instructional teams and related arts rooms there at Sykesville. And finally, on July 8th, I participated in MABE's Virtual Equity Committee meeting, and at that meeting we made plans for our roundtable discussions that are going to be a part of this year's MABE conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whistler.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Madam President. Just a few items. On June 17th, I attended a farewell ceremony for Dr. Ball at Carroll Community College. I want to thank Dr. Jim Ball for his tremendous leadership and his partnership with our school system. He's done a lot to help us plan and implement Blueprint's pillar related to dual enrollment. Dr. Rose Mintz has assumed the helm, and she has incredibly large shoes to fill. And I look forward to working alongside her and her staff to improve education in our county. On June 20th, I attended the Sykesville Middle School Planning Meeting. Again, we met at East Middle there. The group had a chance to visit various classrooms, as my colleague mentioned, and discuss what features should be included in their school when they add 12,000 square feet at Sykesville Middle. So on June 22nd, I attended the Be a Ray of Sunshine dance in Westminster to support that nonprofit's efforts to stop bullying in our schools. I'm really proud of this organization, along with the many other nonprofits in our county that help us provide awareness and resources for youth mental health issues. And then finally, on June 24th, I attended the Freedom Elementary Planning meeting. And there we discussed adding 1 pre-K classroom and 4 general classrooms. The goal will be to start the project, I believe, in June of 2026 and complete construction in time for the 27-28 school year. Principal Smith, her staff, and parents are working very hard to design a plan that will expand space and maybe even improve the bus loop and parking for staff. So that's a good thing. And before I end my comments, Madam President, I really didn't have a chance to address, but during public testimony, we heard comments from somebody that said that the board rejects testimony or doesn't consider the student input important, and that the student member of the board is not valued, or I just categorically reject those claims. I think this board is very good at listening to student input, taking student input, and with Miss Chloe here being here on her first or second time, I don't want you to think that we don't value you, because we do. So I categorically reject that testimony. And then also, if I can have clarification from our superintendent, related to the books, there was testimony that said if these 2 books are not adopted into the curriculum, they're somehow removed from schools. That's not the case, right? If the books are not adopted in the curriculum, they still will remain in our school system, correct?
Are you referring to the 2 books in question?
Yes, ma'am.
Those books are books that would be purchased for the teaching of the Maryland State Framework health curriculum.
Okay.
So these are not books that are used for any other purpose but to help to implement our curriculum for those students who are signed up for the Maryland State framework.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification. Finish, Madam President.
Thank you. You all know the Career and Technology Center is very near and dear to my heart. I'm very grateful that I've been a board member as we have gone through the amazing renovation. The programs at the Career and Tech Center truly help students identify their career path and provide hands-on opportunities they would not be able to get anywhere else. Through the year, I have shared with you videos from some of the programs. Tonight, I would like to share a spotlight video from Haley Younger from the Bakery and Pastry program. And Miss Alder was one of the retirees, and the new instructor is a graduate of North Carroll High School that I taught, and she is doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
At the Career and Technology Center, students from all over Carroll County come together to gain technical skills in numerous specialized programs. Every day, these students are excelling, and we want to highlight some of these remarkable students. Today's student is Haley Younger. Haley is a junior at Winters Mill High School, where she is a member of the National Art Honor Society and is on the outdoor track and field team. At Career in Tech, she is a member of the Baking and Pastry program. She states that her favorite part of the baking and pastry program is the fun they have with hands-on learning. She says she feels like she never wants to go back to a regular classroom setting again. Baking and pastry instructor Brittany Koch says Haley is an amazing student. She is eager to learn as much as she can, both in the kitchen as well as in the classroom. She puts 110% into every product she makes and strives to do everything to the best of her ability. I am excited to watch her skills grow and see what she is able to create. Haley currently works at Players Fun Zone in Westminster. When she is not working or in school, Haley enjoys photography, going on ski trips with her family, playing with her dog Kita, and being an avid reader. After graduation, Haley plans to attend a baking school and hopes to own her own business.
Thank you, Bob. We do have amazing students, and people just don't realize how wonderful that career in tech is. And I'd like to special thank you to Mike Campanelli and the students and staff at the Career and Tech Center for being so welcoming to the Channel 21 staff and allowing them to videotape throughout the year. And as an old field hockey coach here in Carroll County, I just remind all fall athletes, it's time to get your physicals. So, August is coming. August is coming. Sorry, I still got that old teacher coach in me. And now, Dr. McCabe.
This evening, I'm proud to share that students from the Carroll County Career and Technology Center earned gold medals in television production and photography at the National Skills USA Championships held the last week of June in Atlanta. Students finished among the top 10 nationally in 6 additional events: cosmetology, criminal justice, diesel equipment technology, digital cinema production, pin design, and promotional bulletin board. Congratulations to these very talented students and their instructors. I also would like to congratulate Jason Breeden, a 2024 graduate of Century High School, who has been awarded 2 National Gold Medal Awards in the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards program. The awards were in ceramics for Keeping My Composure and drawing and illustration for a variety of subjects. Jason's works will be on display at the 2024 National Exhibition hosted by the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Ruth and Harold D. Uris Center for Education in New York City in the late fall. And finally, congratulations to Isabel Pearson, a rising senior at Winters Mill High School and a student in the Honors Academy of Finance at Westminster High School. Isabel was the high school winner in the Financial Education Poetry Contest and one of the statewide personal finance and economics competitions coordinated by the Maryland Council on Economic Education.
Well, thank you. Now we will move on to the school construction report.
No.
No, you're not allowed to now. Sorry.
The monthly construction report details status of work on projects under construction as well as in planning and design. There are some items under action on the agenda that relate to the projects in the planning stage. The East Middle site has really come together in the last few weeks. It is very exciting to see how the final site looks almost fully completed. Mr. Marks is here for any questions.
So are we going to be all complete before the school year starts? Everything all good to go? Fantastic. That is very exciting.
Are we crossing our I's, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and holding money back to make sure everything's done? That's what I'm concerned about. Okay.
And still, none of that rock was a dinosaur bone. All right.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marks. And now we will move on to personnel transaction items.
I have one item to share with you on the transaction report tonight. Jennifer Shipley, who is the assistant principal of Robert Moten Elementary, will be transferred to assistant principal at Manchester Elementary School.
Comments, questions? Okay, thank you very much. And now I need a motion for the approval of the award of bids.
So moved.
By Ms. Pataglia, seconded by Dr. Dorsey.
There are 9 items on the award of bids. First, we have the architectural and engineering services for the pre-K additions at 5 elementary schools. This award will begin the formal design process based on the work of the local planning committee. The firm we are recommending, Mosley Architects, scored highest on technical points and also was the lowest cost. We have the architectural and engineering services for Freedom Elementary School and Sykesville Middle School. This contract will begin the formal design process based on the local planning committee's work. As with the prior award, the firm we are recommending, Design Collective, scored highest on technical points and also was the lowest cost. Next, we have the water service entry repairs. This contract is for repairs or replacement of water backflow preventers at designated school locations based on testing results. Next, we have the food service paper and detergents. This is an annual contract for the food services program to purchase paper and detergents as needed through the next school year. Next, we have 1 refrigerated and 1 heated self-care case for Century High School, self-service case for Century High School, an award for improvements at Century as part of the ongoing capital renewal in the food services program. This item is paid for by the Food Services Program Fund. Next, we have the preparation of concrete slabs for Freedom and Hampstead Elementary School. This award is for the concrete slab work for 2 walk-in freezers at the 2 elementary schools. Next, we have football helmets and shoulder pads. This is a contract for the upcoming football season for schools to purchase helmets and shoulder pads as needed. Next, we have furniture and equipment, which is a contract for schools to purchase specific modular office equipment as needed. And finally, we have the school funds for the outdoor pavilion for Winfield Elementary School. This is an award utilizing school funds for a new pavilion at Winfield. Questions?
Ms. Savigny.
There's a couple of various questions. Just go through them one by one.
Sure.
So on the first item for the design services for, architectural and engineering services for design and bidding, et cetera, it says that there were 9 respondents and 5 were shortlisted. Can you just help me understand what are the criteria for when you go from 9 to, and then you shortlist it to 5? What are the things that kick folks out?
Well, during the interview process, there's a number of different things. I mean, there's the proposals that are provided and how complete those are, how well they respond. There's the team that's put together by the firm. There's the responsiveness. Then during the interviews, it's what they bring to the table. So that's how we end up shortlisting.
Okay, so they get shortlisted before any bids are provided, right? It's
Before
just,
the numbers are seen, right, before the numbers are requested.
okay, great, thanks. And on the food service paper and detergents, there was wide variation across a lot of the estimates, but it looked like you did an aggregate calculation to say, based on previous volumes, that particular contract would have been the cheapest.
Correct.
Okay. Just trying to understand, like, the wide variation kind of across a lot of those categories.
And I think Dr. McCabe said this, but all of those three items relative to food service are, of course, paid from the food services program fund as well.
Right. No, just trying to understand that it's not a pick list type of approach. It's you pick one vendor and they provide all of those, but the aggregate estimate is estimated to be the lowest.
Right.
Okay, great. And the football helmets and shoulder pads, is that a significant cost?
Well, the cost keeps going up each year.
And there aren't many companies out there that do that, Ms. Savigny, anymore.
Okay.
No, they don't want to touch it.
And they monitor, everything goes up a little bit each year, that it's consistent with past years. And they do both new if needed, but also refurbishment of shoulder pads and helmets. So Mr. Duffy and Mr. King would work with schools to make the right choices as to what gets replaced. It's not a complete overhaul every year of all the equipment.
Okay. I guess that's the kind of the guidance that I was looking for, because I struggle the most when there's not actually like a dollar amount shown. It's like you don't actually understand, like, okay, what kind of dollars are we talking about for this particular item? So I think just for future reference, it would be helpful if we just kind of understood, okay, what kind of dollars are we talking about for that?
Actually, last month, Mr. Whistler asked some questions. We're in the process, so, and maybe by August, but soon, for most awards, we'll bring a couple of years of priors where there is such a history, so that you'll have that as a reference point going forward.
Okay, I think that would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
We're probably 1 or 2 meetings away from making that our process.
Okay.
Making that what you see each month.
Because
great.
every year during football season, sometimes you have to remove that helmet from the list. Others can be refurbished, and then you have to redo. So it just depends. Each school is different.
Correct, yeah. There'll always be some variance, but we'll be able to provide you, I don't know, did we say 3 years, Rob? I think 2 or 3 years of prior history, so you'll be able to have sort of a ballpark of where it should land.
Okay, great. And just curious that there's a date, that's approval through February 28th, 25. What is the significance of that? Like, it's not a full year. I guess it gets us through the football season, right? So
that's it.
That's it?
Season is it, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then on the number 8, the furniture and equipment, we typically get a pick list for this type of.
So this is supplemental to the overall pick list, and this is for specific sort of like the cubicle modular kind of pieces of furniture that aren't available through the pick list.
Okay.
And so this is much more limited than the general pick list, and these would tend to be things that would have to come through like a building modification sort of a process anyway, where it would roll up through various chains of approvals to say, yeah, we want to redo this space in a certain office with a newer or different modular equipment.
Okay. And we estimate that would be between 100 to 180,000 a year
In a
for
given
total?
year, yeah. Which doesn't take long, believe it or not. Like if you wanted to redo one area of, say, of an area where, 10 or 12 office folks sit, you get to those numbers pretty quickly. So even though that's a really high number to you or I or most people watching, that could be 1 or 2 changes in a year. Those things are kind of at that level.
Are there any issues with not kind of having documentation of who the vendor is that we would be purchasing those from if it is an expense over $25,000 or?
Well, this is the vehicle that would allow that to happen, and then the approval process would be the internal process of modifications requests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so having this, even though it doesn't specifically say a specific company or vendor, but this is still legitimate the way this is shown.
Correct.
Okay, for that expenditure.
Right.
Okay, great. And the last one for the outdoor pavilion, there's only one bidder, but because it's school funds, like that's not a concern, right?
It's not a concern either way, but it's school funds, but it's your property, and so we always do the procurement for any modifications to your property.
Right.
There's probably been times where something we're doing only had one bidder, but as long as you bid it, that's the public required process.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the MABE annual dues.
So moved.
By Dr. Dorsey, seconded by?
I'll second.
By Ms. Battaglia.
This is the annual dues for membership in the Maryland Association of Boards of Education. The dues structure for MABE is tiered by the student enrollment of each school system.
Board members, I do want to let you know that when this had came up during the committee that I serve on with MABE, there were various counties that were saying, this increase kind of hurts a lot of people right now, right? Like, not everybody can do this. But they did give justification. It was their, medical insurance had went up, other actual insurances had got up. The MABE attorney that is acquired has gone up too. So, unfortunately, this is something that, of course, because of inflation, that we have to deal with.
Ms. Savigny, did you have anything?
Oh, no, I appreciate your comments, Ms. Battaglia, because that was actually going to be my comment. Like 9% is a pretty hefty increase. So I was hoping that there was some justification and, kind of
There was.
cross-reference of this is what's causing this exact increase. Okay.
But we do need them. And we do
Absolutely.
use them.
Yes.
Okay, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the MABE Legal Services Association fees. By Mr. Whistler, seconded by?
I'll second.
By Ms. Battaglia.
This is the annual dues to belong to the LSA, which is the Legal and Policy Association through MABE. As with general membership dues, the structure is tiered based on student enrollment.
Comments, questions? I see none. I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of personnel appointments. By Dr. Dorsey, seconded by?
I'll second.
By Ms. Battaglia.
For the monthly personnel action items, there were 55 new hires, 2 rehired retirees, 1 release from contract, 3 promotions, 4 leaves of absence, 3 increases in position, and 5 decreases in position.
Comments? Ms. Savigny.
I was just curious, how does this leave us in terms of how many, we heard about, 102 retirements earlier tonight? How does that leave us in terms of how many more we need to hire before the end of the summer?
Right, we normally hire about 250 teachers each summer. Mr. Diaz, do you know where we are right now?
Yes, good afternoon, board members. So while that number has been historically accurate, this year it's slightly less. We're looking at probably somewhere between 120 or 130 or so teachers to start the school year. That's partly due to the additional comp-ed positions from last year that are not there this year. And so far, we're doing quite well in terms of our recruitment and hiring and finding quality candidates. The number of conditional teachers is lower at this point. But I do want to share caution. We're close to the July 15th resignation deadline. That's a statewide resignation deadline for tenured teachers. So sometimes historically, this time of year, we may see a flurry of resignations, but our counterparts across the state are seeing the same thing. After July 15th, then things begin to settle down because the teachers really should not be resigning unless there's a compassionate or compelling reason, a move or if someone's ill or something like that.
Okay.
And I will say, we are getting really good candidates. And I cannot say that because the last 4 or 5 years, due to our salaries, but with our contract and getting out in front of everyone else, we have been really able to get better educators and also administrators. And so I just want to thank everybody for working on that really hard because it's not finished yet, but that really has helped us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need an approval of personnel appointments.
So moved.
By Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Ms. Pataglia.
Board members, this is the time of year where we try to ensure that all of our administrative positions are filled and that we have a full team of principals and assistant principals at each school to prepare for the upcoming school year. So for tonight, we have Anne Marie Bird, who is currently the assistant principal at Manchester Elementary. She will go to supervisor of elementary reading and English language arts in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. We have Tyler Cross, who's currently a third grade teacher at Winfield Elementary. He will be the assistant principal at Spring Garden Elementary. Next, we have Maureen Gardner, who is currently a third grade teacher at Mount Airy Elementary. She will be the assistant principal at Linton Springs Elementary. Next, we have Christina Kennedy, who is currently a social studies teacher at Winters Mill High. She will be the assistant principal at South Carroll High. And lastly, we have Jermaine Wallace, who is currently an assistant principal in Baltimore City Public Schools to assistant principal at Westminster High School.
Comments, questions? I call for the vote. All those in, Mr. Whistler, you have your card up? Oh, okay. I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And I would like to say that I came in here both on Monday and Tuesday, and Dr. McCabe, I had to sneak in between interviews, so there's more coming, and more interviews and more hirees coming soon. So thank you. All right, now I need a motion for the approval of two family life instructional resources.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the Family Life Advisory Committee's recommendation and exclude both books from the curriculum list.
Do I have a second?
So that is a different item, right? I will second that motion, but
Okay, so how do we do this, Mr. Burkhouse? I asked for, following the line, I asked for the approval, a motion for the approval of the two family life instructional resources. So now he's put another motion on the floor. So tell me what to do.
So you'd have to propose a motion to amend the motion you offered.
Okay. So Mr. Whistler, you have to, so Mr. Whistler has to propose an amendment. There you go, Mr. Whistler. Okay, go ahead.
I propose an amendment that we adopt the Family Life Advisory Committee's recommendation to exclude both books from the curriculum list.
Now, I have to ask, is there a second?
I will second that.
Second that. All right. Now it is open for discussion. Ms. Pataglia?
Basically, I can regurgitate everything I said last month. The definition of families is a group of people who are related by genetics, marriage, or choice, and who share material, emotional, and economic resources. Each board member on this dais is represented in these two books. I will address one thing. I have brought scientific-based evidence from sociologists, psychologists, and anthropologists. That doesn't make me woke, and it doesn't make me emotional, as I've been accused of being. I've also been accused of going to a dark side, which, like I'm some sort of Jedi. I dealt with this kind of thing during COVID, and when I brought evidence to the table, what isolation can do to children, it was evidence-based. It wasn't false. It wasn't just something I made up. Just because I don't have a college degree or 900 years old like Yoda doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. The truth is, children do perform academically better when their family life is acknowledged. And in turn, the family is more inclined to participate in their child's education by either attending school activities and volunteering, to also developing a line of communication with the teacher and the staff at the school. This is primarily seen in our mothers, and it's a mother's nature. And if a mother is absent from whatever reason, the father participates in their child's education. Not having social acknowledgments does lead to hostile behaviors, and we have seen a great deal of that recently in our schools. And yes, social exclusion leads to stigmatization and bullying and shaming. Not to acknowledge different families is humiliating a child and feelings of ridicule. Again, this does not help a child in their academics, and it does have a negative impact on a child's learning environment. All of this information I did look up on Friday with a peer-reviewed article in my UMGC library titled Social Status and Shaming Experiences Related to Adolescent Overt Aggression at School. And it did find that students that experienced shaming during their elementary ages did have behavioral issues as they got older. While this study was conducted in 2009, way before COVID, it does support the lack of learning elementary age children receive at the social supports they did not receive in the most important time of a child's development, where children learn to make friends, learn to be nice toward others, learn what is and what is not socially and behavioral acceptable. And they learn to develop relationships in society, which is the foundation of academic achievement. I want to know, again, what is norm? Anyone can define norms for their specific family makeup. It may be normal for a mom to work outside the home while dad stays home. It may be normal for a blended family where an adult child lives overseas and a dad works at home and mom stays home and works from home. It may be normal for a blended family to run a farm. It may be normal for a mom to be successful in education and the professional world. It may be normal to have a blended family all in one home with both parents working outside the house. And yes, my stepdaughter can technically say she has two mothers. She has her birth mother, and she has me as her stepmother. And she can say she has two fathers, my husband, her birth father, and her stepfather. These two books also are discussed way into the spring. So by this point, families have already been in the schools, and the children have seen what these families are. And this is it, finally, this is all I'm going to say. These two books are for the MSDE version of the health curriculum. So approval, it's for MSDE. So if you wish to not have these books in your child's curriculum, then you sign up for Carroll County version. Leave the MSDE version alone. Just sign up for the Carroll County version, and then you won't have your children exposed to these two books. So, that's all I got to say.
Anyone else? Ms. Kang?
Okay. Yeah, it's working now. So I agree. So when I ask the students, right, when I go to the students and I ask them, what do you guys think about this policy? I broke it down step by step. I gave them both sides of the issues because while this may not seem as a controversial issue for some, it can be for others. So I give them both sides of the argument. Some people are like, this exposes children too early. This is something parents don't want. This may be conflicting with other viewpoints. Then there's also the one where it's inclusion-based. It gives people inclusivity. It gives them visibility. And it doesn't have anything, that tries to force them. So in the grand scheme of things, it's overwhelmingly, we should keep these books. From 86% say keep, and then 40% of students say to remove these books. But for those who say to remove these books, a lot of it came from those who believe that this would be coming on too early and they would rather have it for older students. So this is not merely a debate of should we exclude families who do not fit in, the norm, and rather just have it where students can see their family lives represented in books that are completely normal for them, which are normal books. These are children's books, and they've been passed through publishing. So a lot of our students think it's important for inclusivity because in the real world, you're going to see these people, and merely being exposed to a book or in material that say, that talk about homosexual parents does not mean that these children will grow up to be homosexuals or whether they will grow up to be heterosexuals. The material presented to them is not for them to explore. It's just merely something that if a student understands it, then they'll understand it. And for a student who doesn't understand it, they just won't.
Thank you. And I did have asked to bring this up this time because Don and I have been together for 8 years, and I have, out of respect for her, I thought she should have time for her response also. Ms. Savigny?
I appreciate that, Ms. Herbert, and I say this as so I'm the board member on the Family Life Advisory Committee. So I think there's a lot of confusion as to what this vote is and what it really means. We're not pulling anything from the curriculum or books that are already in the classroom or that are already in the libraries. This is a vote like regular curriculum council type of things where new resources become available. It goes through a vetting process of the curriculum council, and we vote on those books. This is the same thing with the Family Life Committee. It goes through a vetting process. They either recommend those books to the Board of Ed, or they recommend that the board not support these materials. So they're not in the classroom or the libraries at the moment. This is all resources that were being evaluated in order to develop the new family life curriculum, regardless of version, whether it's the state version, the Carroll County version, or opt out entirely. All these books that are up for consideration. And so the committee, there were a lot of discussions in the committee. It was it was really open. It was really good discussion. The committee voted not to recommend these two books because they actually felt like it wasn't necessary. So there was some confusion over definition of a family and what do we really think is the proper definition of a family. How do we write this in for an opt-in versus an opt-out? We're looking at the books and saying you don't need the books in order to teach to the standards that are being required by either the Maryland framework or what we've adopted for the Carroll County version. You don't need the books. The lesson plans that have been developed, the lesson plans are very inclusive. The activities that they're doing with the kids are very inclusive, regardless of which version you pick. I mean, it's meant the lesson plans, if you saw those, I think you'd say, oh, these are fantastic activities. These are very inclusive activities. You don't need the books, given that there were a lot of objections from the committee. So I think given that as a backdrop, right, like all of the lesson plans and the activities are very good, very inclusive. And so say, well, let's see if we can find some other books that maybe there are less concerns with. I'm inclined to go with the committee's recommendations. Because that's why we have these committees, is so that they provide to us the recommendations of what the community thinks is good, age-appropriate books for our students. So on that basis, I'm going to vote in favor of the amendment to not accept these books. We're not removing them from anything, but not accepting them for curriculum.
Dr. Dorsey?
Okay, my position certainly hasn't changed from the last time. Again, I see no problem with these books. I think they're appropriate as far as helping to show what families can be like. Mm-hmm. And nobody is going to be going into any kind of deep discussions about why families look certain ways. We're just saying here are some ways that families can look. And as I shared last time, it's all about representation. It's important for everybody to feel represented in literature, in books. And again, if you're coming from a family that has a different, let's say, setup other than a mom and dad, if you see yourself pictured in the book, it sort of validates you. So again, I think that's what we should be all about, validating and representing everyone. And like I said, I mean, what was it, just one page that had the two moms, and again, all the other setups, again, families can look many, many different ways, and these are just some examples of ways families can look. I looked at the bigger piece for me was that, even though families can look differently, let's look at the things that the families have in common, and that's what the books brought out, I thought, very well. All families can hug. All families can be sad. All families like to celebrate special days together. All families like to help each other. Be strong. All families are special, no matter what format. And then the other book talked about, families come in all shapes and sizes. And again, we have different homes, we have schools, we have jobs, holidays, food, clothes, pets. We have so many differences in one sense, but yet there are so many commonalities. And I think, for kids to see themselves pictured in books and in literature, I think it's very, very important for them. I've seen firsthand, and I've walked in classrooms before, and I've heard little kids say, "Oh, look, that's me. That's me on this page." Well, it's not that it was that person pictured there, but it was a person who looked like this child looked. So I've seen firsthand at how kids really do feel validated and important when they see themselves pictured. So again, I think the books do a nice job of just pointing out how we can be different, but again, how we can also have so many things in common. And the bottom line is representation.
Thank you, Dr. Dorsey. Mr. Whistler.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I appreciate the input and perspectives of my colleagues. I really do. I urge you to support my motion to exclude the books, and I wanted to explain my rationale as to why. And it's a few major points. One, I really want to preserve parents' rights. Parents have diverse views on what constitutes a family. They also have different opinions as to when these topics should be discussed with their very young children. And I appreciate the intent of the FLAC to empower parents to have these discussions with their kids. And I believe many parents don't want the public school system to impose anyone's views of what a family looks like on their children. Parents, if we included these books in our curriculum, parents would not have the option to withdraw their children from these lessons connected with books. Just last year, many parents in Montgomery County with various religious and ethnic backgrounds sued their school system. They lost in court, and still today they cannot prevent their children from being introduced to the material and the concepts that are included in them. I don't want to see a similar thing happen here in Carroll County. I will always work to preserve our parents' rights. And believe me, I want every parent's rights represented and considered. Even the family we have right here, beautiful family. The FLAC recommended a lesson that ensures every child's family is recognized and celebrated. And I don't think people know about this. The lesson suggests that young students draw pictures of their family, then they showcase their family to their classmates. This approach is organic, it's student-centered, it's culturally relevant to each student's situation, and it offers our classrooms the opportunity to recognize and celebrate every single family. This approach does not force concepts of any specific family type on every single child in every single school. So I agree with the FLAC's recommendations that these two books should not be included. They're just not necessary to celebrate every one of our students and families. Their lesson will be much more effective, and their approach, in my opinion, gives everyone a win. I reject any notion offered by folks that have testified, and certainly the crazy comments on social media, that somehow anyone who disagrees with these books being our curriculum denigrates, shames, or discounts any parent or student in our system. Every one of our families, every one of our students are terrific. We have incredible educators, engaged parents, and a track record of academic success, and I urge my colleagues to vote yes on my motion.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being very respectful tonight on their comments. And seeing nothing, did you want to say something?
So there is a motion on the floor for Mr. Whistler's motion.
Yes, with an amendment.
I would like to make a different amendment.
You can't, because we already got one on the floor.
I think perhaps a procedural clarification is necessary. The board members have addressed their comments to the underlying main motion, whether to adopt these materials or not. What is in front of the board right now is to decide whether to amend the motion that you initially put forward.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Whistler has proposed an amendment, so there must first be a vote on whether to
On the
amend the
amendment.
motion.
Okay.
And if that is approved, then the board can discuss and vote on the amended motion.
Thank you.
But
Okay.
he stated an amended motion, didn't he?
Yeah, I think we need to approve the amendment before we have discussion. We kind
Okay,
of-
so we need to vote on Mr. Whistler's, so I call for the vote
Proposed amendment.
for Mr. Whistler's amendment.
That's right.
Okay? I call
Would
for,
you, no, before we do any voting, state what we're voting on. Just,
go ahead, Mr. Burkhouse.
So that Mr. Whistler proposed an amendment, which was that he proposed that the board not approve the materials. The board has to vote on whether to adopt that amended motion. If that motion is approved, they can then decide whether to adopt the amended motion or reject it.
So we are voting on right now an amendment to exclude the books,
To amend, yep.
correct?
Right.
No.
To amend the original motion.
To amend the
original
motion.
Was to approve the materials.
So we are voting on to amend the motion.
That's right.
Okay, I call for,
I'm sorry, there was never a motion or a second on the approval of the agenda item. It went straight to the amendment.
That's what I was really confused on when that happened. I was like, well,
did he jump right
I just
up?
want to make sure we procedurally get this correct.
so Mr. Burkhouse, tell us what to do.
Well, I think the board needs to adopt its motion, whether it be amended or the initial motion, and then to vote upon it.
the original thing on the agenda says approval of the two family life instructional resources.
That's right. Is there a second
So-
for that motion?
Is there,
No,
No one made that motion.
no one even,
okay.
Yeah,
no one
because-
did anything to the motion
Then
because
let's back
Mr.
up.
Whistler
Let's back
came
up.
right up and said he would like to make an amendment.
So I'm going to make
So-
a motion to,
Just wait a minute. So tell us what to do. So we need to, so we need to go back and I need a motion for the approval of the two family life instructional resources? That's what it states.
Yeah.
That's the main motion on the agenda.
So we have to do that first.
Yes.
Okay.
so I will so moved on that.
So,
And I'll second
and
that.
a second on that.
And then I move that we amend the motion that we adopt the Family Life Advisory Committee's recommendation to exclude both books from the curriculum list.
And that's a motion. I need a
That's a
second.
And I will second that motion.
Okay. Now, we will now vote on the,
Whether to adopt the amendment.
That's correct.
Can we have discussion on his amendment first?
We essentially
I-
did.
we already did.
Well, I wanted to get clarification on one thing. That are these two books, is this for the MSDE version, and then we will have a Carroll County version? Is that, I want clarification on that.
Dr. McCabe.
These two books would be purchased for the lessons that go with the Maryland State framework, not the Carroll County framework.
So families could opt out of MSDE if these two books are approved.
Correct.
They could opt out for Carroll County, which these two books would not be in part of,
Correct.
which would give parents a choice.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
My amendment still stands.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I would just clarify that all the activities that have been discussed in the lesson plans that were developed would actually be workable for both, so that there wouldn't have to be separation or exclusion or something different for two different groups. So the activities are very inclusive, nothing objectionable in them, so that would be possible. So I think that's part of the reason why it was
Yep.
recommended the way it was by the committee.
So I have a motion to amend. Is there a second?
She did
I
second
second
it.
it.
Great, okay.
Okay.
I call the question.
Okay. I call for the vote, and the vote will be
On the amendment.
on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Two opposed. Okay.
So it's 3 in favor of the amendment, 2 opposed, and student rep opposition. So 3-2, the amendment.
The amendment has been approved.
Carries. Okay. That's it then, right?
Are we done with
That's
the
it.
discussion?
Okay, thank you. All right. Now I need a motion for the approval of the revision to Board Policy JLCE First Aid and Healthcare Policy.
So moved.
By Mr. Whistler, seconded by?
Second.
By Ms. Pataglia. Thank you.
Last month, we brought revisions to policy JLCE based on recent changes to law. Mr. Streeter outlined those changes, and they were submitted for public feedback before returning this evening for your action. If there are any questions, Mr. Streeter is here to respond.
Question, Ms. Savigny?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was from before.
All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of change order for Winters Mill High School track refurbishment.
So moved.
By Ms. Pataglia, seconded by Mr. Whistler.
When work began on the track refurbishment at Winters Mill High School, it revealed a need for refurbishment of the substrate as well. Change orders over $50,000 must be brought for board action based on board policy FEF. We are bringing this change order tonight for almost $360,000 so that work can continue and be completed for the coming school year. Any questions? Mr. O'Neill is here.
The surprises keep coming.
Yes, this
Yes.
is.
This was a surprise.
This was a surprise, and sometimes this happens as we start construction on a project.
It's not the first time.
I was just going to
Yeah.
say that. This is not the first track in Carroll County that has had to have this done.
It's the second in recent memory where we
Yep.
tried to begin work and found that we had to replace substrate as well. And so the price seems enormous, but if you look at the resurfacing, if we didn't have to go to the substrate, it's about that much money, and now
Yep.
we're going to the substrate, so it lines up. We did take core samples, multiple core samples, and thought we would be fine without getting to the substrate, and once work began, that wasn't turning out to be the case. When when they brought the, what do you call it, when you bring the equipment on and it was, when they brought the equipment on to try to begin the refurbishment, the substrate was sort of,
Wavy?
There's a term they use,
Yeah.
it like bubbles
Yes.
under the equipment.
Okay.
And that revealed we need to do this if we want it to be permanent.
Oh, yes.
It's your local funds in the infrastructure renewal account, so we're not going to the state or the county for any additional money. But we do want to stay on schedule to have things up and running for the fall.
Mr. O'Neill, can you remind us how much we put into that renewal fund this year?
I believe you replenished it with $3 million in the operating budget you just approved.
Okay, so this would be 358 out of that?
Of that $3 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is now how we run maintenance below major projects. So periodically, we may begin to have a conversation with Superintendent McCabe about coming to you more routinely, if not every year, to try to be more consistent in replenishing that fund. Because how it's been working is we'll do a couple of million in a year, and then Ray will plan out projects to that fund, and when we know we're going to hit that amount, when we know when we're going to expend the full amount in a given fiscal year, that's when we'll come back in a budget cycle and say, let's replenish it. But if there's no hope that we're ever going to return to a place where we have a line item in the operating budget for these kind of maintenance issues, then we may as well start to think about more consistently replenishing that fund. I don't know if any of that made sense. I know what I wanted to say. I'm not sure what I said.
No, I get it.
Okay.
So I mean, this 358 is, and that's on top of what was the approved amount for that project?
306. I think 306 was the amount to do the surface refurbishment.
Okay.
358.8 to do the substrate.
Okay, so it's more than double the original
Slightly,
expectation?
yeah.
Okay.
So we're replacing the base that the
Yes.
track sits on. Sort of there's layers to how
Okay.
a track operates. We're going into the below the track area to re-solidify that and firm it up to place.
And what's the warranty on that then? I mean, I know it's got to be warranty of some kind.
Mr. Prokop is coming to my aid.
Any real warranty, we're looking at the track surface itself.
Right.
Just that they run on. typically that's a replacement. We're trying to replace within 10 years. So we
Right.
installed these track surfaces. This Winters Mill and Century were more than double their useful life. In terms of the specific warranty, I'd have to get that.
No, that's
that
fine,
for
but
you.
I didn't know. I know there, at North Carroll, that track was used every day, almost every day, probably, I don't know about Christmas and New Year's and those things, but it was used all the time. I mean, they're used by the community and you want them to, and then, of course, the school's a community, and that's.
Right.
And with the infrastructure renewal funds, we're able to get to these types of projects. They just fall behind the larger capital projects that we bring to you.
Right, I understand.
They're that lower priority. And because of their age, unfortunately, the substrate, that's where we're going to pay for it in the end.
Right, yeah, the more you put it off, yeah, okay. Ms. Battaglia?
I was going to say, I know technology and shoe wear keeps changing too, so a lot of times that takes into effect on what that does to the track. Because it used to be, the plastic spikes, and now they go for the metal spikes to get more traction, to get more speed, whatever they're doing on their shoes for track and field. So we know that all too well with our unit. So I think that plays a factor into it.
Anyone else?
We don't have much choice, right?
No, we do not. Okay, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now, yes, I know. Now we're going to move on for discussion, the policy JICJ, portable electronic devices.
At the June business meeting, Mr. Shockney shared survey results from parents, students, and staff regarding cell phones in schools. Tonight, we are bringing policy JICJ as a discussion item. Mr. Shockney will summarize our process to date and thoughts on policy JICJ and its administrative regulations.
All right. Good evening, board members. As Dr. McCabe said, yes, we've had lots of discussion around the topic of portable electronic devices, including cell phones. We started, I guess, way back in March. We then surveyed our community. We surveyed staff, we surveyed parents and guardians, and we also surveyed students as part of that process. And I believe at our last board meeting, we shared the results, which again, there's lots of varying positions and thoughts on cell phones and portable electronic devices in schools. So what we have before you today is the board policy as it stands. I've brought back to you the policy as it currently is. What I am recommending is that, again, this is just a recommendation. We can go in any direction in what you would want to do. But the policy itself specifically, as you look into the section 3 under the policy statement, obviously where it talks about it is the responsibility of the school system to provide instructional technology for our students. Please remember that this policy was written prior to a time when we provided devices to students, and we provide a one-to-one device to all of our students in grades 3 through 12, and we provide access devices in students in K and 2. So we have ample access to technology in our schools, which again didn't exist prior to the development of this policy. What it is, kind of the meat of the policy again is in that section 3 under the policy statement, where it says, furthermore, while personally owned portable electronic devices, for example, cell phones, may be brought to school, they should be silenced and stored. They should be silenced and stored during the school day, according to the accompanying administrative regulations, to minimize distractions to the learning environment. So, as I've said before, and I've been very clear about this, I do think that there are changes that need to be made to our practices, but those changes reside in the administrative regulations. So it is my recommendation that the policy remain the same, but that we make some changes in the administrative regulations. I'll hit a few of those, and then it'll open up for discussion. And again, this is just one, my recommendation, trying to synthesize, but of course, we will go in whatever direction you prefer. The main thing that we talked about kind of in our initial discussion, as well as when we shared the results of the surveys, like I just mentioned, is that there is no need for cell phones as an instructional tool. So if you remember, at the end of the presentation, I have a chart that has a summary of kind of, it breaks down the settings within the school day, and one of those settings is classrooms. And at the elementary level, that's always been a no, that we do not need cell phones in classrooms. But I would like to expand that to no's at the middle school level and the high school level for instruction. There is no need, given the access to the technology that we've provided through devices. That is the largest change that I'm recommending, but I'm also recommending that we do a few other things to strengthen some communication and expectations within the regulations. That also includes being clear with our employees. We want our employees to model what our expectations are for our students. Now, obviously, adults are a little different than students, but we want to model in front of our students. So if we're saying devices shouldn't be in classrooms unless there's an emergency or something specific going on, that we as adults shouldn't have our devices out in our classrooms. I think another piece where we need to solidify is, we've said this many a times, but to also put it in the regulation because it doesn't exist, is that we need our families to work with us. We have a good communication structure and support in place. If, God forbid, there's an emergency and a parent needs to contact the school. We've shared some kind of stories anecdotally where a parent may contact a student through a text message. Student shows up in the office that says, "Hey, I'm going home," when the school had no knowledge, and then the parent shows up to sign out the child. We have very, very established practices and processes for those kinds of things. The other thing I recommended too, that I am recommending, as I've said before, is that some of our students have documented medical needs. Some of our students with diabetes, for example, may use a portable electronic device to help monitor their blood sugar, for example. I do think there should be some exceptions for students with portable electronic devices, as long as it's documented in an IEP, a 504, or a documented health plan. And then we've also talked about smartwatches at the elementary level, and it would also be my recommendation that, again, strengthen some language in the regulation that would say we would treat smartwatches as a portable electronic device, and just like a cell phone, if a student were to bring it to school, it would be to be silenced and stored during the day. So often at the elementary level, if a student had a cell phone that would be in the backpack during the student day, the smartwatch would be treated the same at the elementary level. So that's kind of a summary of the recommendations. Again, policy not changing, but yet some changes to the administrative regulations. But with all of that said, obviously, board members, policy is your prerogative. So if you want to go in a different direction on the policy, I can draft that. Again, this is all discussion, so I would bring any changes to a policy back. It would go out for public comment. But also, I'm open to any changes as it stands in our administrative regulations as well.
So I just want to make sure that people know, if we don't change the policy, it will not go out.
Correct.
But if we change the guidelines or thereafter, then
Correct.
we can do that.
What's
I just wanted people to understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Battaglia had her card up first, then Dr. Dorsey.
Basically the same thing I said last month. I think to me it needs to be put away bell to bell. No at the lunchroom, no during class changes. Again, it's, especially during lunch, I think our kids need to have that socialization skill reinforced. Again, if then they have their cell phones at lunch, they're not socializing with their peers. And same with class changes. They need to be aware of their surroundings. And unfortunately, again, cell phones at lunch and class changes, this is when they're texting, like, meet me in the bathroom on such and such time. And of course, they're going to watch for the time so they can make arrangements to go to the bathroom or pick a fight in the hallway during a certain time at a certain spot. So again, bell to bell for me. Like, it goes away and that's it. I did have a question because I know some high schools have lockers. Like Man Valley makes it mandatory. Kids all have to use their lockers. Westminster High School, not so much.
Is very different in each high school depending upon the geography of the building, layout of the building, schedules, rotations, and those kinds of things. So there are some high schools where students, and middle schools as well, where students might make regular stops at a locker during the course of the day. There are other secondary schools, middle and high school, where students, pretty much, maintain things through a backpack during the course of the day. That is different in every building. It is different because each building is structured differently and trying to maximize a learning time. If I could clarify one thing just for anyone listening at home, we utilize a differentiated approach in access. Obviously, elementary school students don't have access during the day to a device, but as we move into middle and high schools, there is some access that's allowed. At the middle school level, students can have access to devices only if the administrator gives consent for that to happen. And I'll look back to Mr. Gramada and say that typically happens over the progression of the year, and typically in the later years, maybe in 7th and 8th grades as well. But at the high school level, that is where students can utilize, in our current regs, students can utilize devices during lunch and during class changes. But again, that's in the regs and open for, for discussion, and if there's consensus to make a change, we'll make a change.
Dr. Dorsey.
My question, and again, I know what you commented on concerning the actual policy, but my question is in the policy section under definitions, beginning with the school day, because as our definition, we have that the school day begins with the first morning bell and ends with the dismissal bell. Well, sometimes the first morning bell is the actual arrival into the school bell, but then there's another bell that might signify that now the instructional day begins. So we need to clarify what we're referring to here.
The way I interpret that is, the way our schools interpret that is upon entry to school to exit from school. I would take it as that first bell is that signal that students can enter the building, and then that afternoon bell is that signal in which students can exit the building or be dismissed. So we could, if that's, we could definitely update the definition, but I think it's interpreted as from entry to exit from school.
Okay, so it's just designated first morning bell here in the policy, but in the regulations, it's more speaking towards the entry.
From entry to exit.
Dr. Dorsey, do you want to change the policy? Or is it okay back in the guidelines?
As long as everybody has the same understanding of what the first morning bell is.
Well,
that
and I
it's
think
the entry
that's
bell.
a big challenge of where we are, and I know I've said this before, but I probably didn't hit it as well in my opening. A big challenge of where we are is consistency and communication, and even consistency within a building. I'm not talking maybe building to building, it's a little different, but even consistency within the building, and then what expectation exists in different places or classrooms within the building. So no matter what we decide moving forward, this is already an agenda item on my administrators and supervisors in service that we have planned, because no matter what happens, whether there's no change or massive changes, we need to be doing a better job. And we meaning all staff in holding and being clear about expectations and holding students accountable. And that is an everyone responsibility. And that's where we need families as well to support. But that is a teacher responsibility, an administrator responsibility, and all staff within the building's responsibility also.
Mr. Whistler.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask my colleague at the end of the table there, you've been in elementary, middle, and high, and I did see the cell phone survey results. Can you give me your thoughts, what your thoughts are? What do you think the students want to see? Would love to hear your perspective.
Okay, so in general consensus, we do agree with the elementary part because there is no use for a cell phone at all. And frankly, a lot of us can't afford cell phones at that early age. For middle school, a lot of us actually do agree with the no in classrooms because, especially in middle school, you learn a lot of your educational foundational skills, especially math, English. So we do agree that a lot of the material that you learn in middle school are very hands-on, something that you don't need your phones for, and if you do need anything, it would probably be like Desmos, which is something you can access on your computer or on your calculator that I think is part of the school shopping list for middle schoolers. So we do agree with everything with middle school as well. but not overwhelmingly. This was actually kind of more of a split. We have 63 people who don't agree with high schoolers having no cell phones in classrooms, and we do also like having phones in between class changes. I think a lot of the students here believe that while yes, there are times where students text people like, oh, meet me in the bathroom at 6:30 for a fight, that's not the vast majority, and I think that could easily be solved in other ways rather than just banning phones, because banning phones kind of creates even more problematic behavior from students who, feel the need to sneak their phones in and have it a little bit more distracting when you're trying to sneak it in so the teacher doesn't know, or like high schoolers know like how to use it responsibly. Like the vast majority of us do know how to use it, and there are times where there are a lull in instruction time. So I think that if we go back to what the previous practice, I think it was yes in classrooms, but with administrative permission, correct?
That's what so at the middle and high school level, that is in the current regulation,
Right.
But not what
Not the
individual Nick
proposed, but
proposing, yes. Yes.
So the previous one, I think we should, for high schoolers, go back to the yes with administrative permission, but again, have greater consistency and have teachers really pound down on having like blue slips or like consequences for having your phone when not used in instruction. But having the no for high schoolers especially will cause more concerns, especially because at that age, a lot of our students are like, it's the student's fault if you miss class time. And it's up to you, the individual, to do it, and it shouldn't be something the teacher has to like pull up your own slack for, if you get what I mean. So I think everything is great except for the no classrooms for high school. I think we should go back to the previous.
Anyone else? I want to say thank you for all this work. I was a teacher. I've talked to many teachers. High school teachers, I talked to more high school teachers than anyone else. They do not want them in the classroom. They don't want to be videotaped. The fights, the setting up of fights in between classes, that would alleviate that. The other thing is that I always say is consistency. As long as I taught, there were rules, and there were many teachers that would follow the rules, but the ones that didn't always caused problems for everyone else. So we need to be consistent. And the other thing that I want to make sure that people understand is when we hand out each family a school calendar, there are all those rules and regulations in there that old calendar gets thrown somewhere on a pile of paper somewhere, and they do not read how to do things in proper sequence. And the SRO from Francis Scott Key was spot on. He said, if there was a school fight, the parent would come bring in a video of it and say, this kid needs to be arrested. That is not the way we run these schools. There is a process, steps that we go through. So I want to thank you for all this. That was the one other thing I wanted to mention. How are we going to cover our buses on this? Because they are very concerned, because I got phone calls. So I just want you to address it so we can make this good for everyone.
Sure. So buses is a category that we've looked at and differentiated at the elementary level currently, and my recommendation moving forward is that we highly recommend that families do not send students to school with a device, period. That includes the bus, that includes school. But if a student does at the elementary level, middle level, or high level, as it currently stands, the devices must be silenced, or anything audio being directed through headphones or some other individual listening device. It shouldn't be loud. And it's also it is for the owner to use. It is not for the owner to play something and have other students huddle around. It is for that student to utilize. So as it stands, it's permissible, middle and high. It's permissible elementary, but highly recommended that students not bring portable electronic devices, cell phones, smartwatches would be included, to school on the bus or to school. But if a student did have them on the bus at any three level, either of the three levels as it stands, They'd have to be silenced or directed through headphones.
Okay, they just wanted to make sure of that. And understand, their job is to get our students, pick our students up and get them
Most definitely.
safely to school and then get them safely back home. And we don't need to have a jazz session in the back or have a dance-a-thon. And they need to keep their eyes on the road. And thank you, Mr. Whistler. I hadn't forgotten. It was just that I wanted to bring that up. Yes. All right.
I was originally going to say, I like Dr. Dorsey had questioned the definition of school day. I was also thinking like, okay, well, how does that apply to buses then? Because that's outside of the first morning bell and the dismissal bell. But as you see how the definition is used in the policy statement, it kind of makes sense. And we handle the
Yes.
buses within the administrative regs.
I just, yeah,
right?
and they were very concerned about that, so they wanted to make sure they were all covered, and I understand that. They have a big responsibility.
Just to clarify, so I make sure I have the understanding of the group. So the recommendation would be that we remove during the classroom use of the device at middle and high, but yet at the middle and high school level, before or after school, would still be allowed, and then at the high school level during class changes, they would be allowed, and then at lunch. At the middle school level, they would be allowed with administrator permission, and then they would be allowed at the high school level. I just want to make sure the group is comfortable with that, so there's no confusion.
I know Ms. Battaglia is not comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's when we're seeing most of these videos and these fights is at lunchtime and between the classroom changes. And that's another thing we heard from teachers too. Like the kids aren't paying attention when they're walking down the hallway. Their faces in the cell phone and they bump into people or fall down the steps or walk into walls. So again, to me, they're not. I'm bell to bell, all three schools. That's just me.
Yeah, if I could say, so we were saying, are you saying yes for classrooms for high school?
No.
No. It's
No.
we're saying the class changes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the only change to that chart that I've shared with you before would be the classrooms at the middle and high school level would move to no. Everything else would remain the same unless you want something, the consensus of the board is to do something different. That's what I just want to make sure I'm capturing exactly it is what you'd like to attend. And Ms. Battaglia definitely noted.
I'll take away your phone.
Any other comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Kang.
I just want to share that a lot of our students use our phones as break times because it's like a jam-packed school day, 7 hours, sitting in your seats learning. And I think it's important to at least grant students the right to have their phone, at least during lunch. Maybe not classrooms if we're totally against the idea, but maybe during advisory, which is the pause area. But I think just having a break for our students is important so that we do have, that break, I guess, in the middle of the school day, especially because we know that the majority of our students do not, try to cause fights or anything. So, and it's overwhelmingly, our students don't really agree with having no phones for high schools and classrooms.
Do we say anything about advisory in the regulations? I know it's an interesting
I would
point.
interpret advisory as being part of classroom. because
Absolutely.
instruction-
Okay.
And they shouldn't be in
I'm a
there.
firm believer that good instruction, intervention, and support should be happening during advisory time.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. And now we will move on to, at 5 p.m., Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, board meeting with public participation in the boardroom at 125 North Court Street, Westminster. I need a motion for adjournment. By Mr. Whistler, seconded by Ms. Battaglia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Everybody have a good evening.